Alright, what's going on, guys? I'm back with Liberty or Death tutorial. We're moving into turn 5, the burning of Falmouth, the active card. So we have British, French, Indian, Patriot here. The British and the French took moves last turn, so they're actually ineligible. So the Indians and the Patriots are eligible. So according to the card, the Indians would act first. So what the Indians are going to do for the burning of Falmouth here card is they're going to do a trade special activity because they have 0 resources and they want to take a command and a special activity. So they're going to move to command and special activity here. And let's take a look at how those options work for them. So as their special activity, they're looking to do a trade. And as their command, they're looking to do a raid, is what's going to happen here. So first they're going to trade, which gains them resources, which they need because they actually are at 0 resources. So as a trade action, accompany command any location in any one province with an underground war party and a village. So they're going to do the trade by using the Southwest. They have 3 war parties and a village there. So that's eligible. British chooses an amount or none of resources to transfer to Indians. So British give up the resource and Indians gain. If greater than 1, then transfer that amount of resources from the British to the Indians and activate 1 underground war party in selected province. If not, then activate 1 underground war party in selected province and add 1 resource. So the British are going to choose to not give any resources to the Indians. So the Indians could activate 1 war party in the Southwest because they didn't get any resources. So they do still get to flip 1 over, activate, and then they add 1 resource because even though the British didn't give them a resource as the option of getting none, they can still activate 1 unit and gain 1 resource. So they go from 0 to 1. Okay. So they're going to use that resource to raid. A raid can normally affect up to 3 locations, but they have to pay a resource for each location, and since they only have 1 resource here, they are unable to, they can only go up to 1 location. The location they raid must be at opposition and have a present or adjacent underground war party. Just take a look at the raid actual thing here, just since I've been showing them off. It's used to reduce opposition up to 3 provinces with or adjacent to underground war party and at opposition. 1 resource per province. In up to 3 provinces, move in up to 1 adjacent war party. Then, in each selected province, activate 1 underground war party to place a raid marker and shift opposition 1 level toward neutral. So they're basically getting opposition away from Patriot control or rebellion control there. So they can only spend 1 resource because that's all they have. So they're going to choose 1. There's only 2 targets they can go to: North Carolina and Massachusetts. The reason is because they have to be at opposition and have a present adjacent underground war party at those locations. So North Carolina has a war party in North Carolina that is underground, and it is opposed. So that is a space that they could do it. The other space is up in Massachusetts because it is opposed, and there is an adjacent war party that we can move in to Massachusetts to do it. But they're going to choose to not do that. Massachusetts is pretty built up there. So they're going to go with North Carolina here. So they're activate their war party. So they're showing that they were there now. They're underground. Now they're activated because they're affecting North Carolina. And they could move in another if they wanted to, but since there's already 1 in there, they could move 1 in from the Southwest because it's adjacent. But since there's already 1 there, they're just going to use the one that's there. And the raided colony shifts one level toward neutral. So the colony was at passive oppose, so it shifts to neutral. One step toward neutral. So they're getting away of opposition to the British by doing that. So the total opposition for the rebels decreases because this is a 2 population space, and opposed is times 1. So the total opposition is going to go down 2. 2 times 1 is 2 because they lost this now. It goes back to neutral. So the rebels go from 7 to 5 opposition-wise. They move down 2. North Carolina gets a raid marker, which we haven't seen yet. So here's a raid marker. And on the other side is different groups, Cherokee, Shawnee. So these are double-sided to represent other types of things I could only assume when needed, different tribes. So we just put a raid marker here in North Carolina to show that it was raided. Place that in here. And the Indian resources decrease. Remember, it costs 1 per area to do this. They go from the 1 to 0. They can only raid it in one spot. So they spent that resource they got to raid North Carolina. And that is their turn. Okay, so we move on now to the Patriots. So they can take an event or a limited command because they can only go to this space, or they can choose to pass. So they choose to take the event. So they're going to head to the event, the Burn in a Falmouth event. They're going to do the shaded one. Patriots outraged over aggressive actions. Free rally in 2 spaces adjacent to Massachusetts. Patriot resources +3. So they get to rally for free in 2 spaces adjacent to Massachusetts. So let's look up at Massachusetts here. Building up in this area here. So they can rally without cost of 2 spaces. Any pieces placed in New York colony will be at risk because of the British presence there, which is adjacent. So they're not going to choose to put anybody there. So they're going to place 1 militia in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and another in Boston. So we'll take 1 militia, put it in Connecticut, Rhode Island to the south, and then 1 in Boston, which is adjacent as well to the east. You can add rebellion control markers to Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Boston because they're the only people in there now. So control of Connecticut, Rhode Island goes to the rebels, and so does the control of Boston. Goes to the rebels. And Patriot resources are increased because of the card. Remember, the card states that you can do that, plus you can add 3 resources to the Patriots. So they go from 4 to 7 as they move up and get even more resources here to use for later. And that is it. So you discard the Burn in a Falmouth, move the Cherokee supplied by the British card over to in play. And the next card that is going to come up is the Declaration of Independence. So that will be happening turn away from now. The next card is Cherokee supplied by the British, though. And that is the end of turn 5. Nice. Alright, so the Cherokees moved in. They asked for a trade from the British, who didn't supply them with the trade, but although they still get 1 resource for doing that, and they get to activate one of their war parties. Or they have to activate a war party and get a supply. And then they chose to raid North Carolina with their turn by flipping over to showing that they had an underground war party here. So now they're known. They raided. It took away some opposition. And then the Patriots moved and added militia to Connecticut and Boston, which gave them control of those 2 areas, and was able to get some resources. So that is what happened turn 5. So turn 6 is coming up next. Okay, so we're heading to turn 6, Cherokee supplied by the British. So, Indian, French, British, Patriot. Indians and the Patriots activated last turn, so they are not eligible. So we skip the Indians and move on to the French, who are eligible along with the English. So what the French are going to do for their turn is they're going to take the command and special activity mark here. And the command will be French agent mobilization. Let's take a look at French agent mobilization. So this allows the French, before the Treaty of Alliance, they haven't played that card yet, so they're still before, add Patriot militia or Continentals. Location, one space only, Quebec, New York, New Hampshire, or Massachusetts if not at active support. Costs one resource. Procedure, place 2 militia or 1 Continental in either Quebec, New York, New Hampshire, or Massachusetts not at active support. So there's 4 spaces where they can do this French agent mobilization. And you can tell what spaces they are because there's a mark above the name. So if you look at New York Colony, you see it here. There's one in New York, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and over in Quebec as well. So New York, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Quebec. They have the fleur-de-lis above the colony name, just so that those are the ones. So the French placed 2 militia in Massachusetts. So they're placed in Patriot units, basically, not their own. They don't have militia. So Massachusetts is one of the ones they can do. So they're going to place 2 of the active militia in Massachusetts, which come in flipped. So Massachusetts is really built up here. Excuse me. So they place 2 militia in Massachusetts to pay 1 resource, because it's a resource per space, leaving 4 resources. They're at 5. And their special activity is going to use the Preparer la Guerre to move 1 squadron or blockade from unavailable to West Indies. So they're going to do that. So zoom out here. They have 1 unavailable blockade here in the space, along with only 1 more unit. So they're going to take this and move it to the West Indies. So now they have 3 squadrons in the West Indies. Excuse me. French prep increases from 20 to 21, because remember the French prep, available forces, squadrons, British losses. They're at 20, so they're going to move up to 21, because they added 1 squadron. So now they've been high enough to enter the war for a couple turns now, but they're kind of waiting, because they want to get all 3 squadrons available, because they can use those to disrupt naval activity for the British. So they want to make sure that their squadrons are all available, which they are now. Alright, so the British are up, and they can take an event or limited command because of what the French did. So they move in to take a limited command. And they're going to march. So a march event is, the purpose is to enter areas, locate militia, and gain control. Any spaces except a blockaded city could be the location. It's 1 resource per destination space. They only have 1 resource, the British, so they're only going to be able to do this in 1 space. So they can move any British regulars onto an adjacent space, or if moving units are in or adjacent to a city not blockaded, to another city not blockaded, or a province adjacent to it. Tories may only accompany through the entire process, British regulars 1-to-1. Activate militia for every 3 British cubes there. Okay. So they are going to march, and the reason they want to is they want to take some more cities, more land. Well, actually more cities, because when the winter quarters round comes, which is the card that will be coming soon, which kind of gets to the point of victory, supply, redeployment, all that, Um, their production during that is based on population in British-controlled cities. So they want to take at least another city or two before the winter comes. So movement from or to a blockaded city is prohibited. It's not an issue because the blockade markers don't come into play until the French play the treaty. They have some squadrons available. They haven't blockaded anything yet, so the British don't have to worry about that. So it allows units to move if movement units are in or adjacent to a city not blockaded, to another city not blockaded, or to a province adjacent to it. So they're going to move 2 regulars from New York Colony through New York City to Philadelphia. 2 regulars from New York Colony through New York City right here. So they can move these arrows, which we haven't really looked at yet. Determine movement. So you see there's arrows here. So New York can go through the arrow into New York City, and then they can use that arrow to head into like Jersey. But they are moving to Philadelphia here. Alright, so how is this working? Let's double check. So they're moving 2 regulars from New York Colony through New York City to Philadelphia. Okay. So they go through New York City and into Philadelphia, which is here. Okay. Alright. So I gotta double check on exactly how the movement is going here. But that's what they're doing, and we'll look into it later or read it, figure it out. And to Philadelphia, and 3 regulars and Howe from New York City to Philadelphia. So they're taking the Howe and 3 regulars from New York City and moving that into Philadelphia as well. So they're moving quite a bit of troops. Move 5 regulars and Howe into Philadelphia. Right. Sorry, I wasn't zoomed in properly for that thing. Apologize. So they took, basically, let's just go back and see what it was, just so it's on the board proper with the camera. So they went from New York City, Colony, through New York City, and into Philadelphia, and they took 3 from the city itself into Philadelphia, and they brought Howe along with them. So that was the move. The militia in Philadelphia is activated because a march command activates 1 militia for every 3 British cubes in the space. So there is now 5 cubes here, so this militia has to activate because it's 3 or more are in the space. Control of Philadelphia flips to the Royalists because they have more there, so they get control of Philadelphia. And the British pay 1 resource for every destination space, and they only chose the 1 destination space, and they only had because they had 1 resource, so they moved from 1 to 0 for that march maneuver. Okay, so they're moving into Philly to try to take up some more cities before the winter comes. So the Declaration of Independence card gets moved as the active card, and we flip over the next one on the pile, and that is Stockbridge Indians. And that is the end of turn 6. So the movement, I'm going to have to double check on how that moves for that round. They went from New York Colony into New York through this arrow here. Then they moved, it looks like, into Jersey here, and was still able to move from Jersey into Philly. So it looks like they moved 1, 2, 3 spaces, and I have to double check how the movement works. Like I said, I'm learning. So I'm just kind of following the tutorial. That's what the move was, and I'll double check and see how and why and try to figure that out. But that is the move, turn 6. So we're moving into the Declaration of Independence game, turn 7 in the next video. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.